One of the most challenging parts for me on this road to becoming a chaplain is learning how to walk with people from different faiths. If you're new around these parts, my name is Leslie, and I'm taking you on the road to what it is like to become a chaplain. I am a little bit over 50 years old. I am making a career shift, and I thought this channel would be super helpful to answer questions that I know I had and couldn't find information for. So welcome. So I am a Christian, and so one of the things that I quickly found out, which was different than what I was learning at my very conservative seminary, is that when you work in a hospital, you must be a chaplain to all people. And that is not how it's taught at our seminary. Now, I don't know if it was taught that way at your seminary. I'm super curious. Put that in the comments. But for us, we were being trained in the types of classes that we're taking to be a pastor, essentially, within a Christian denomination. Well, I quickly found out that working in a pluralistic, say the word, Leslie, pluralistic environment, very ecumenical, so all different faiths, I wasn't going to be able to show up in the hospital the way that I would show up on a Sunday morning, minister to, being pastoral care at a church. So what did it look like for me to make this mindset shift from being in a church context to being in a public hospital environment? Well, I took an analogy that if you're a Christian, this will relate to you. But if you're not a Christian, hang on, because again, these principles are going to apply, because as a chaplain, you must be a chaplain to all people. So that mindset shift for me was thinking of myself as a shepherd as opposed to a pastor. Now, if you're Christian, you're like, well, yeah, that's common language for us. We serve the good shepherd. But if you really think about the occupation of a shepherd and what is required, it'll help you to become a better chaplain. One of the things I heard a long time ago is don't ever trust a shepherd who doesn't smell like sheep. Okay? Let that sit for a minute. Some people want to do chaplaincy from the door. I'm kidding you not. In the environment that I work in, and everybody has different personalities, everybody has different experiences, everybody has different traumas. If we're going to be honest here, we got to keep it honest in these parts. And there are several chaplains who I serve with who are amazing people, but they're germaphobes. They are very introverted. And so how they approach people would be very different than how me as an extrovert shows up. So I know some chaplains who do what I call ministry from the door. Meaning when you walk into the patient's room and you identify yourself, they're not going to come very close to that patient. They're going to either stay by the door or they're going to be at the edge of the bed. But they're going to keep a nice little distance away from the patient. And I'm not here to critique people's chaplain styles, but it did make me think about what does it look like to walk with someone's pain? Now, body proximity doesn't have to be a thing. It does just happen to be my thing. I am a person who will come to the bedside to speak with you. I am a person with permission who will put my hand on your shoulder or to hold your hand, because I feel like connection and physical connection and even proximity breeds some trust and some closeness, because you're coming into a room where they don't even know you. Okay, this is not like being at church. These folks don't see you every week. You might have 5 seconds to 10 seconds to make an impression on them to see if they're going to invite you in to have a conversation. So I try to create intimacy, for lack of a better term. That's the only word I can think of, because it is an intimate moment, not in a sexual way. We're all adults here, right? But a closeness is to come close in proximity. But here's my thing. Whether you come in close in proximity, physical proximity, you must come close in emotional and spiritual proximity. It is hard to minister, care for, whatever term you want to use, when you don't understand a person's struggles. Or if you're looking at people with, kind of like oh, wow, that's really unfortunate that that's happening to you. That is base level empathy. If you really want to connect with people, and I believe you do if you're here to be a chaplain, you've got to be willing to get dirty. You got to be willing to sit with conversations and ask questions that may make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'll give you an example of something that was tough for me because of what I've dealt with in the past. I grew up in a military family with a military dad who was very strict. And I tell people all the time, I've seen my dad cry twice in life. No, 3 times. I apologize. 3 times in life. The first time was when his mother died, my grandmother, when she died. The second time was when, trigger warning, fetal demise I'm getting ready to say that. So protect your heart in that regard. When my sister had my nephew and he only lived for a few hours. And then third was when my mother died in 2020. So I've seen this man cry 3 times. Doesn't mean my father didn't love us or doesn't love deeply. But I've only seen him cry 3 times. So one of the things that I learned and discovered is that I have a tough time when I see men, big old grown men, expressing a lot of emotion. It makes me very uncomfortable. It makes me want to withdraw, not just physically, but also emotionally, and feel like I'm sorry for what's going on with you, but I'm going to keep my words short and my emotions few because I'm uncomfortable. I've had to learn and become resource and understand that triggers me, right? That's such a huge part of CPE, is the reflection part of it. Is that you are learning, who are you and what makes you to be the type of person that you are, because that's the type of chaplain you're going to be, obviously. And without an awareness of that, like, I would have never thought that men crying would bring up something in me that might impede my care, but it did. So I had to learn, and through the help of my cohort and my educator, how to resource myself so that when that happens, I can still be the type of support that person needs. You have to learn to be a shepherd. And so you're going to have your own triggers, for lack of a better term. They're going to be things that, like me, you didn't even know would be a trigger for you that's going to come out. But if you commit to, I am going to walk with people, really walk with people, I'm going to have a closeness with people, you'll seek out the tools that you need to have. So I really want you to think about, how will I come close to people? Will that be physical proximity that represents an internal process that's happening? Or am I going to be the type of chaplain that attempts to minister from the door? Something to think about. Let me know your thoughts. Talk to you soon. Grace and peace.